What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over the Ultimate Marvel Universe, and we pick up with All New Ultimates Volume 2. This will be the last All New Ultimates video because after this, there was no more All New Ultimates. They basically had Secret Wars drop after this. But anyways, in this book, you see the All New Ultimates do a last few things before they basically disassemble the team. So if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. So with the opening of this book, we pick up with the All New Ultimates in the sewers looking for Crossbones. You have to remember that Crossbones was one of the many serpent scrolls that got away from the big battle that took place at the end of our last video. Except when they get into the sewers, well, they are not greeted by Crossbones. No, they are confronted by vermin. This is our first appearance of vermin in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, this vermin is actually bigger than the main Marvel Universe version of vermin, and is more of a capable fighter than the main Marvel Universe. Now, this is not me saying the main Marvel Universe version sucks or anything. It is more of me saying that this vermin is a tad bit stronger because he is able to take on most of the All New Ultimates team. But after Vermin gets badly injured, well, he runs deeper into the sewers. Before we can see more of Vermin, we have to jump over to the police department because we get reminded that Scourge was arrested after the big battle in our last video, where we established that maybe he is a racist, since the gangs he is talking about are mostly people of color, and he blames all people of color for the crime rising in the city. He is telling this to Detective Bridget, who we met in the beginning of our All New Ultimates videos. She leads a squad of detectives who are at the end of this going to form some new team. Getting back to the heroes, we see them go deeper into the sewers. This gives us a big moment, but another throwaway character for this book. First thing is that they find Shereck, who was this detective who died in our first All New Ultimates video. But we saw in our last video, he came back to life somehow. Before the heroes can ask how in the world he is alive again, well, they're confronted by Agent Croc. Let me say, I'm not going to sit down and cover things about Agent Croc. The reason why, because after this moment, he becomes pointless in this book. If you think I'm lying to you, well, I'm not. There is a fight scene between the heroes going up against Vermin and Agent Croc. This fight goes on for a few pages where at first it does seem that maybe Agent Croc can do something here and maybe defeat the heroes. Also tells us that he protects the sewers because there are kind of like Murloc people from the X-Men comics. There are people down there hiding there because of their appearance from their powers. But in the middle of the fight, we see that Agent Croc's hand gets cut off thanks to Vermin. This is where we learn that Terry, the detective, well, he has the power to grab a body part of someone else and learn about the history of someone. So when he grabs the body part of Agent Croc, we do get the history of the character, but again, it is not important at all. Then the hand of Agent Croc becomes part of Terry. The detective has a new hand now. So the question for the heroes is, what do you do when you have a walking corpse in the sewers, especially if it is someone you know who the walking corpse is? So of course, you take the corpse to someone that is close to that person. So the heroes thought it would be a good idea to take him to Detective Bridget, since this was her partner and she was the one who saw him die. Also, she hates the All New Ultimates for the original death of Terry. Sadly, we don't get to see how that reunion plays out because we have to introduce another team of villains that is going to join this book, to only be used to fill up a few pages to move on to the next issue, the Fiend Fatalities. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that name correctly. On this team is Knockout, Whiplash, Mind Blast, and Bloodlust. Horrible names, but they are going to go up against the Ultimates. Now, the question that does get answered is where the Ultimates are staying now since their last base, which was the church, was blown up. Well, they are staying at the home of Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, where of course, when you have everyone living there, it feels a tad bit cramped, so emotions begin to rise up. But then you have Miles Morales and Spider-Woman tell us that J. Jonah Jameson talked about wanting to help the Spider people out since they helped save the world, also as a way to pay back his own kind of debt towards Peter Parker Spider-Man, who is dead at this point in this universe. So the other members think that JJ could give them a place to stay at. While most of the all-new Ultimates are dealing with their living issues, we get reminded that in our last video, Poe, the boyfriend of Bombshell, died. So right now, she has been staying away from the team to deal with the death of Poe. The next few pages are where the all-new Ultimates have to fight against the Fiend Fatalities. The new supervillains team were introduced in this chapter, and at first I thought they were going to be the new big threat for our heroes to fight against and give them a hard time, especially when I see them on the cover of this volume. So you would think that these are the next big bad guys, except that is not true at all. They are just here to again move the plot forward and introduce something really important actually, and also establish that the Future Foundation does exist in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. The Future Foundation appears and mentioned that the all-new Ultimates are not a sanctioned team, meaning that they don't have the rights to be out there in the world being heroes. With S.H.I.E.L.D. no longer being around, they have to register themselves, except they haven't, and this is Future Foundation telling them to be careful. To close on the second chapter of this book, we pick up with Cloak and Dagger going through some relationship problems. Dagger kinds of mentions that when she is around Cloak, she makes it seem that she feels suffocated by him, not physically but mentally, and they break up. Now, they don't lead the Ultimates team. Well, Cloak goes away like he is actually done with the team, but I can tell you now that he is most definitely not done with the team. We also see that someone is watching the all-new Ultimates as they are running around town. The third chapter picks up with the idea that the trial of the Scourge is going to be happening soon. Also that he is going to be transported to an actual prison to be held there for the time being. Except we are introduced to another group of people. This time they are called the Watchdogs, and they are planning to break out the Scourge from police custody. Again, this group is just used to move the plot forward, and that is really it for them. Then we pick up with the all-new Ultimates again, except remember how Cloak had left the team, or seemed like he left the team. Well, no, he only left for a few days and decided to come back, because we pick up with the all-new Ultimates getting ready to protect the police while they transport the Scourge to his new prison cell. At the same time, we still are establishing that Cloak and Dagger are no longer a couple, and that Dagger is upset that Cloak went missing for a long period of time. Now Lana, aka Bombshell, is still off the team because she is dealing with the fact that her boyfriend was killed by some gang who really wanted revenge against her and the rest of the all-new Ultimates. Well, to get some advice on how to deal with the pain or find someone to talk about the whole situation, we see her go to the Vault, which is a well-known prison for supervillains, and talks to her mother. Remember that her mother and her used to be a supervillain duo, except when they both got caught, the police gave Lana a chance for parole, and her mother, Lori, did not get the chance. She kind of gives her daughter some advice and talks talks about hanging out with friends to help her move forward in life. Then it is finally time to see the police transfer Scourge to his new prison, and we see that there are people from the public upset for what Scourge did and what he said. While he did say some messed up things, to be honest, either way, we come to find out that one of the cops is actually dirty. This cop is actually working for the Watchdogs, which we saw earlier. They are the group of men who are trying to break out Scourge because they like how he works. So we see them blow up one of the buses and begin the process of breaking Scourge out. This leads into the all-new Ultimates coming in to save the day once more, except once again, it is the Ultimates getting their butt kicked by these guys. Like literally, the Ultimates are having a tough time just beating a bunch of guys who are just using guns to fight. There is a point where some of the all-new Ultimates are pinned down, but the big plot twist of this book comes when one of the Watchdogs members hands Scourge a gun to use. He kills the guy who handed him the gun and tells him that he works alone and that their group is a bunch of racist people. So after Scourge gets away, you have Spider-Woman kind of explaining who the Watchdogs are, that they are a group of people who are white supremacists that S.H.I.E.L.D. had a hard time capturing for a long time now. The difference between them and Scourge is that they wanted to plan out attacks to kill any minority group of people just for the heck of it. Scourge is only going after minorities who have some kind of affiliation with a gang. While the fight was going on, Dagger got grazed by a bullet. That leaves Cloak taking Dagger away somewhere, hoping that she will heal, maybe on her own, or maybe he should take her to a nearby hospital. The problem is that while they are trying to fix the bad rift between them, well, someone shoots both of them in the head to knock them out, leaving us with a shadow figure, making us wonder who it is. Getting into the 4th chapter of this book, we see that Bombshell is actually thinking about getting back with the rest of the group, since she has been away for a long period of time now. Then we switch over to Miles Morales' Spider-Man. This is something important to point out because he is confronted by Diamondback. Remember, she's the lady who was second in charge of the Serpent Scrolls, the big bad guys of the last book. But also, she and Miles Morales kissed. It really bothered Miles Morales a lot because to him, he thought he cheated on his girlfriend Kate Bishop, even though it was just a kiss that was forced on him in the first place. Either way, Diamondback appears again and begs to talk to Miles Morales about something, but they have to go somewhere secret because too many people are out there looking for her. The problem is that her real intention is to get revenge on Miles Morales and then go after the rest of the all-new Ultimates for what they did to the Serpent Scrolls. So while she is playing all innocent and stuff, well, Diamondback has Sidewinder ready to shoot Miles Morales with a sniper, except before Sidewinder is able to do it, Diamondback is shot in the head like Cloak and Dagger were earlier. The reason why is because it is Taskmaster. Remember that Taskmaster has the ability to copy the powers that are used on him. So if he is hit with super strength, then he can use it too. After he appears, well, he takes out Miles Morales and captures him too with Diamondback. Taskmaster moves quickly when it comes to capturing the all-new Ultimates. After he captures Miles Morales, he then goes after Kitty Pryde and Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, where it seems that the two of them are just going to go through the process of moving Kitty Pryde back to her mother's house. Well, that is when you see Taskmaster take out Kitty Pryde and Spider-Woman like he did to the other all-new Ultimates. Now remember, Terry Shereck, he was a detective that was killed but somehow came back to life and was found by the all-new Ultimates. They gave him back over to Detective Bridget and we see them working out. She is telling Terry about how the higher-ups in the police department told her and her team of police to back off from dealing with the gang problems in the city. So instead of doing that, you have Terry talk about going rogue and making their own team to deal with problems out there. We then get introduced to a new character who is not going to be around after this story, and that is a lady named Ecstasy. And also we get reintroduced to Mr. Jip. That Ecstasy is the one in charge of all the drug things the Serpent Scrolls and a few other people have been pushing in the last few videos. Now Mr. Jip is slowly changing because he had inhaled a lot of drugs all at once, and so his body is changing, and you will see the outcome of that very soon. Getting back to Taskmaster, we see that he's about to get ready to deliver all of the all-new Ultimates to whoever had hired him. Except the problem is that he was not prepared for Bombshell to come by the apartment of Jessica Drew. So when she sees what the door looks like and then walks in to see Taskmaster trying to get away with the two people he recently just captured, this leads into a big battle in the middle of the apartment, but you don't have Taskmaster stay to fight since he knows that he is not prepared to take on Bombshell just yet. The problem is that while Taskmaster is putting everyone in the back of the truck, Sidewinder has snuck in the front of the truck and of course got behind the wheel and started the van. He is only there to of course save Diamondback, not really there to save the all-new Ultimates at all. So you have Sidewinder drive off, but Taskmaster is quick to shoot a line on the back of the truck so he can be dragged by the van and hoping to get his van back from Sidewinder. Except again, he forgot about Bombshell, who was trying to save her friends. So the first few pages of the 5th chapter of this book is really more of the all-new Ultimates trying to break out of the van, while at the same time you have Bombshell still trying to fight against Taskmaster. So this is giving us a whole scene of a battle over a van all over the city. This is also the moment you have Miles Morales realize that Diamondback really did not want his help, that in reality she was trying to trick Miles and hopefully kill him for revenge. Either way, after a while, you have the battle end with the van being flipped over and the Ultimates being able to break free from their bind. After the big battle scene, well, you have some other things happen in this book. The first thing that happens is Miles Morales being able to capture Taskmaster, which was very easy. The second thing is that Bombshell is thinking about killing Diamondback since Diamondback was the one who killed Poe. Poe's death has been the reason Bombshell has been down for a while. So this is kind of her thinking that she is getting revenge for Poe, except for her, she knows that Poe wouldn't want her to do that in the first place. Then you have the book remind us about Crossbones, who was the leader of the Serpent Scrolls, but he went missing after our last video, and the all-new Ultimates were looking for him. Well, we see him meet up with Ecstasy and Mr. Jip, letting us know that he was kind of working for them. Except before we are able to explore more of this, well, you have Mr. Jip actually change into this big monster. The reason why is because all the drugs he had inhaled a while ago had begun to change his body and then turn him into some kind of monster. Getting back to the heroes, we see that you have the heroes ask why Taskmaster is coming after them. At first, you would think that maybe he is here to get revenge for what the all-new Ultimates did to him last time, except he is here to capture them because Roxxon had put a bounty on them. The book reminds us that every character minus Kitty Pryde powers are based around Roxxon doing something to them on purpose or on accident. So it is Roxxon thinking that since it was them who created most of the all-new Ultimates, they have the rights to capture all-new Ultimates. Except the heroes really can't think much about it, since that is when Mr. Jip, who has turned into a monster, actually attacks the city. So of course, this leads into this big battle between everyone who has been part of the last couple issues that are important. So the all-new Ultimates, Crossbones, Diamondback, and Mr. Jip, who is now a huge monster, wrecking the whole city. Now, something I want you guys to remember is that Detective Terry and Detective Bridget decided that they want to go rogue since the police department is not doing anything to deal with the issues in the city. So they decided to form their own group with the rest of their team and call themselves Terror Inc. Then we finally get into the first issue of the all new Ultimates, the one that ends everything for this team, and honestly, kind of happy it did. So the first few pages of this storyline is more of the all new Ultimates actually trying to save innocent people from the attack of the monster, and we also see that there are other group of people like Terror Inc., Crossbones, and the last few members of the Serpent Scrolls trying to do their own thing too. Either way, this battle goes on for a while until you have someone finally come up with a game plan to actually stop this monster. You have Terry decide to go inside the monster to hopefully find Mr. Jip inside there to talk to him, stating that the monster we are seeing is a huge monster avatar. But on the inside, there is the actual Mr. Jip who can control the monster who he is inside of at the moment. Remember that we talked earlier about how Terry has the powers to know someone or talk to someone once he touches one of their body parts, except this time it was him leading into the death of Mr. Jip. So that is how we end this problem here, and most of the bad people go away to prison. The reason why I say most of the bad guys get thrown into prison is because you have Jessica Drew meet up with Monica Chang. This causes some issues in the Ultimate Marvel Universe timeline because in Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man, she was killed by a Green Goblin. Except here she is not dead, but tells Jessica Drew that Crossbone is actually a good guy who was undercover for S.H.I.E.L.D., hoping to bring down the Serpent Scrolls. Also Ecstasy because she may have some ties into Hydra. Also, they can't do anything about Roxxon either. The book closes on two things happening, which is more of that Detective Bridget and the rest of her squad are going to continue to be a team and call themselves Terror Inc. moving forward. Don't worry, we won't see them again, to be honest about that. To finally close on this video and this team, you have the all new Ultimates break up for some strange reason. Doesn't make sense why they broke up for, but the book ends with them swinging away to go help out some of the last few members of the X-Men. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's video.